I would now like to introduce you all to our presenter for this afternoon. In addition to coordinating our lifelong learning programs for VCU Alumni, Tiera Byrd, who is also a VCU graduate. She is hailing from the School of Business 2012. She is a money coach. Tiera has always had a deep interest in all things money related, especially the role money plays in our outlook on life. In 2014, she founded a business to empower individuals to take full control of their personal finances and shift their money mindset by saving more and spending less. Without further ado, I am now going to turn it over to Tiera. Thanks, Tiera.
All right. Thank you so much, Letitia. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I'm super excited to talk about money. It's my favorite thing to talk about. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to take some notes, to learn some more about some tips about saving. And let's get started because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. All right. How to save more, spend less. All right. So a little bit more about me. I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University, School of Business in 2012, and I began money coaching in 2014. And I also was able to plan my own wedding in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, debt-free, and it was my dream wedding. So I made that happen somehow. Also, I've been able to save $10,000 consecutively for 3 years while living below my means. In addition to that, I created and sustained a 7-month emergency fund, which is super important. And I'm going to talk to you guys about that a little bit later in the presentation. All right, so this is the agenda for today. If you want to take notes, this, as Letitia said, this will be recorded as well. So if you missed something, you can always go back to check on it. And if you have questions as I am going through the presentation, definitely want to ask them so we can cover them at the end of the presentation. So we're going to talk about a lot today in a little bit of time. And I apologize if I'm speaking really fast. When I talk about money, I talk really fast because it's something I'm really passionate about. All right. So here is what we know. Everyone has been affected by inflation. Everything is so expensive, from food, gas, mortgages, rent. Everything is super, super expensive right now. And in some way, shape, or form, we've had to kind of bite the bullet to pay extra at the gas pump, to pay extra for going out to eat. And, you know, some people have had to get a second job. Some people have had to ask for a raise at their jobs. And some families are struggling and might be in survival mode. So they can't really focus on their finances right now. It's just about making sure that, you know, my kids have food, making sure they have their necessities. And it's really, really, really hard. So it's like, how do we save more money and how do we spend less when everything has gone up by about 9% over the last couple of months and years, I guess, beginning with the pandemic? How do we save more money? How do we do it, right? And I want to talk about some tips and tricks that you may be aware of, but I also want to share some tips and tricks that has kind of worked for me in hopes that they will work for you. Knowing your numbers. So before we get into the importance of saving, how to save more money and spend less, you have to know your numbers. And knowing your numbers starts with knowing your total monthly income. Your total monthly income that you may get paid every 2 weeks, or you may get every week, depending on how often you're paid. You want to know how much money you're bringing into the household per month. You want to have this number in the back of your head on a spreadsheet. And this is important because it's going to show you what you're working with. You also want to know your total monthly expenses. How much money is going out per month? And it's great to have a gap between these two, right? So if your total monthly income, let's just say, is $1,000 and your total monthly expenses is $500, let's just keep it simple, then your gap would be $500, right? That gap is going to give you some wiggle room to be creative, to start saving, to do the things that you love to do. And it's going to give you the options to create goals that are realistic based on your finances, right? So you want to know your total monthly income, you want to know your total monthly expenses, and you want to make sure that you always have a gap between your monthly income and your monthly expenses. Now, the size of that gap depends on you, right? There are some times where we need to cut back. There are some times where we need to make additional money, get a second job. And sometimes we can do both, right? Because as I mentioned, that gap is where it gets creative. It gives you wiggle room to save for a new house, to save for a car, to pay off a debt, to remodel, all of these things, it gives you that gap. So it's important to have a gap between your monthly income and expenses. And all of this is super important before you figure out how can I save, how much can I save, and how can I create realistic savings goals that are in alignment with my budget or my spending plan. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see something called a spending plan. And I use spending plan because a lot of people don't like budget. They don't like the word budget. They feel like if it's budgeting, if they have to budget, they feel like it is a restriction. They feel like they can't do this or they can't do that. So I always tell people, just say spending plan. You don't have to say budget. Maybe the word budget is just an ugly word and you don't like it. Let's just talk about spending plan. So your budget or your spending plan should be reflective of your financial goals. And it should be realistic based on how much you make. And it should be also including things that make you happy. So just to recap, you want to know your total monthly income, your total monthly expenses, and you want to make sure you have a gap between your total monthly income and your expenses. Tracking your expenses. So tracking your expenses, this is going to show you if your spending plan or if your budget is working. And there's so many different ways to track your expenses. There is not a one size fit all. Some people like a spreadsheet. You have to have the numbers in the spreadsheet. You can kind of put in all of the calculations and it kind of does it for you. There are some people who do that. You also can have a notebook. I'm old school. I will have sticky notes, a notebook, pen and paper. You know, I get paid on Friday. Let me see what bills I have coming out of my paycheck on Friday. I'm writing them, I'm subtracting them, I'm using a calculator on my phone, just so I can get those numbers accurate. And you know, that my budget and my spending plan aligns with my goals. So however you want to track your expenses is totally up to you. If you are a person who uses like your credit cards and debit cards a lot, then I feel like you have an advantage for tracking your expenses because all you have to do is pull your bank statements. If you're a person like me who uses credit cards, debit cards, cash, then I feel like you have to take an additional step because tracking cash can be hard. Even if it's $2 here, $5 there, $10 there, you want to make sure you have an accurate count of where your cash is going. So that's an additional step that you need to take when it comes to tracking your expenses. There also are a number of apps. Many of you have probably heard of the Mint app, which is really good. Some people love it. I love the app until I realized that my categories weren't aligning right. And I was just like, give me my notebook. So there are so many different apps out there that can help you. Like I said, the Mint app is really popular. And it's one of those apps where it's like, you either love it or you hate it. So tracking your expenses is going to show you where your money is going. And I always tell people, numbers do not lie. You know, if you go into Target and you say, well, Tiera, I spent $100 there. And I said, well, let's pull your bank statements. And it's like, I really spent $300. Like numbers are not going to lie. And I think it could be a little bit painful when you pull your bank statements if you haven't done it in a while. But it's also going to show you like, all right, I spent $300 in Target. My budget going forward is 150, right? You still get to go to Target, but you know you can't spend the 300. You can spend the 150 because you know you have the additional 150 going toward a savings goal or going towards something else. So tracking your expenses is important, and it's going to show you if your spending plan or if your budget is working. All right, tracking your expenses continued. So when you're looking at your spending plan or your budget and you're saying, well, I can cut back here, I can take out this subscription, or, you know, I can cook at home this week and not eat out 5 times a week. Maybe I'll do 3 times a week just to kind of see if that works for me. You want to make sure that everything that you're spending your money on each week, each month, that you're satisfied with it, that you're happy. You want to look at your spending plan or your budget and you want to be happy. You don't want to say, oh my gosh, all I'm doing is paying bills. I have no time for myself. I cannot do anything this month. This is not fair. I don't like this. If that's the case, then I'm going to encourage you to add something to your budget that makes you happy, whether it be Starbucks, whether it be Target, whether it be a day fishing at the pond, anything that makes you happy, add it to your budget. And you want to make sure that the things that you're adding to your budget are in alignment with your goals. And I think that's important because it's going to give you motivation to reach your financial goals, right? It's going to give you momentum. If you're reaching them, you make a small baby step here, a small baby step there, then over time, you're going to get that momentum so that you want to keep going, right? So maybe you create a small goal of saving 5% or 3% per month of your income. And then you do that over time and you're like, man, that's easy. Let me say 5% or 10%. Let me up that a little bit because that was easy. That's going to give you the momentum to keep going and to set higher goals and to accomplish those goals. And over time, you're going to feel so accomplished and realize that, man, starting this, I didn't think I could do that, but now I can do it. It's possible. And this is why I encourage people to set goals, but start small and give yourself momentum over time and allow room for error, right? Because if you're a person who has never saved before and you want to start saving money, this is new, right? And you might have a day where you say, okay, I don't feel like saving anything. I'm going to start next paycheck, right? And that's okay. You want to start when you're ready. An unexpected bill could come up and you aren't able to save that week or you aren't able to accomplish that goal. That happens all the time. And the thing is, you always can start over. Each day is a new day, right? So when you're looking at your spending planning budget, you want to look at areas where you can cut back, subscriptions that you don't need, things that pop up like baby showers, weddings, birthdays, right? These things pop up throughout the year. And I don't think some of us realize that that's an additional expense, right? If you go out to eat, you have to pay for the food, right? And then if your friend is having a birthday party, you have to, get them a gift or you want to get them a gift. These are extra expenses that pop up and they're random. And sometimes we are like, we're going to come, we're going to be there, but let's make sure that we're looking at our budget to see if it works for our budget, right? And when you're looking at your spending plan and budget, you want to look at areas that you can cut back, but also, as I mentioned earlier, if you need to increase your income too. And a lot of people have kind of struggled with that with the pandemic and with inflation. It's hard. It's like, I work 40 hours a week. I don't have time for another job. Can't cut back expenses. And I think, that's where it gets kind of hard and you kind of have to pick and choose, right? Or you have to say, well, I'm going to have to put my financial goals on hold until I can kind of figure this out, or gas prices go down. I'm going to have to put this on hold. And that is perfectly fine because a lot of things right now are out of our control, right? And it's actually great if you have the wiggle room to say, you know what? I'm going to pick up some part-time hours doing babysitting or doing Lyft or Uber or whatever it may be. And I'm going to cut back my expenses. I'm going to cook from home and I'm going to pack my lunch just to see if that helps out a little bit so I can put some money away for my child or put some money away to go on vacation because I really want to go on vacation, right? So it all depends on what makes you happy and what's going to work for you and your family, because what may work for you may not work for the next person. These are so many different ways to cut expenses. And I always tell people to take what you need. And if something on here does not resonate with you, it's totally fine. As I mentioned earlier, you can cancel unused subscriptions, prepare meals at home. Sometimes I feel like eating out in grocery shopping is almost the same amount of money spent at this point, right? So I feel like you have to be really strategic in that area. If that's an area where you're like, you know what, I can't cut back. All right, let me go to something else that may work for you, right? Negotiate your insurance. Me and my husband did that a couple of weeks ago, negotiating our insurance, and it kind of worked. Even if it's saving $15 to $20 per month, that's the additional $15 to $20 per month that we did not have. And now we have it. So you can negotiate your insurance. You can cancel or downgrade your cable. We canceled our cable 2 months ago and we have internet and all the streaming services now, which kind of almost make it seems like we have cable again, but it's so much cheaper than what we were paying. Use coupons, right? So we have downloaded so many different types of apps for food. I'm like, oh, where we're going to eat out, we're going to go to Chick-fil-A. I'm going to get the app because we're going to get rewards. If we're going to go to Wawa, we're going to download the app because we're going to get rewards, right? I'm going to sign up for all of my favorite restaurants email club. And I use a separate email address for that because I don't like all the spam. So like when my birthday comes around, I get like free food and just different coupons. Do not feel like you cannot use coupons. I love using coupons. There's Groupon that has a lot of different discounts on there as well. The app called Retail Me Not is also great when you're shopping, 20% off online, whatever it is. Any little bit helps. So use coupons. Also, me and my husband have been going out to eat a lot lately because we don't want to cook. But we have been opting for lunch instead of dinner. And we found that it's cheaper at a lot of restaurants to opt for lunch instead of dinner. Also shopping in bulk at Costco, Sam's Club has been helpful too, to help with our budget as well. So if you already have like your Costco card, your Sam's Club, your BJ's, that is helpful for you to buy certain things in bulk. And I encourage you all to kind of shop around to kind of see, like, does it make sense to buy this in bulk? Does it not? So it takes a little homework, I guess, at first, and then just kind of figuring out what works for you and your family. Also traveling. Everyone is dying to travel. I am dying to travel. And I see that a lot of people are opting for like road trips instead of flying, because I heard flights are just crazy with staff shortages and cancellations. It's just really stressful. So opting for like a shorter road trip to save on flight costs. And, you know, I think gas has gone down a little bit. So I feel like that's kind of helpful. And it's a way to save money. Free entertainment, like if you have kids and there's like, you know, things to do in the park, face painting, you know, balloons, just little creative stuff in your area. There's so much in Richmond that I did not realize that's for kids. So looking in your area to see what they have. Email freebies, I talked about this, signing up for your favorite restaurant, creating a new email address so you won't unsubscribe and get irritated, like they're emailing me too much. Creating a new email address, signing up for email freebies is super helpful. And then also making gifts yourself, DIY. One of my friends makes gifts, and I think she has like an Etsy shop. It is super cool. I am not a DIYer. I will buy you a gift card. I know that I'm not creative, but this is helpful. Someone may be creative with making t-shirts or making hats or something that can kind of help them kind of save money so they don't have to spend on gifts. They can create the gifts. And also barter, right? You know, exchange your goods. Like if you're good at making t-shirts and your friend is good at meal prepping, maybe you guys can kind of barter, and where there's no money involved, you're just trading goods and services. And then also credit card rewards. Lots of different credit cards, depending on how you use them, has different rewards. And, you know, some of them have, you can trade your points in for gift cards. You can, when you go on vacation, you can get some flight rewards. So looking at your credit card points to see if that's something that you want to use. That doesn't work for everyone because everyone doesn't have credit cards, and some people don't like credit cards. But if you have a credit card and you're comfortable with it and you're like really disciplined with your credit card, see what rewards you have on your credit card. And also I have shop off season. I've been shopping off season for years, right? I feel like they're about to put all the fall stuff out in like 5 minutes. So it's my time to go to the store to get all of the leftover summer stuff for next summer. This might not be your cup of tea, but it works for me, and it saves a lot of money because next summer I'll have so many different things that I forgot I bought. So that's just an option there. And also, let's see here, give me 1 second. Ways to save more. So a lot of people come up to me and said, hey, you know, I transfer money to my savings account every time I get paid, but I take it back out because there's a sale or that I need it, or, you know, whatever the reason may be. And I encourage them to have an online savings account. And an online savings account is going to give you access to your money, but it's not going to give you immediate access to your money. And the thing about that is, I think it's kind of like psychological. If you have an online savings account and you need $50 for whatever reason, taking the time to create that transaction to get that $50 is going to take 3 to 5 days. And the thought process about that is like, over 3 to 5 days, it's going to really tell you if you really needed that $50 to go shopping, whatever, like, do you really need it? And sometimes you'll think, well, I'm not going to get the $50 transferred for another couple of days. I don't really need it. So that's the benefit of an online savings account. It works for some people it doesn't work for. So you have to make sure that you're figuring out what works for you. Naming your savings account. This is a really big, not deal breaker. This was really big earlier this year for me. Like, it helped me out and it was a game changer. That's the word I was looking for. Like naming your savings account. If you're saving for a new house, literally go to your bank, or you can go to your online account and say new house savings account. Or if you're saving for a new car savings account. If you want a Tesla, new Tesla savings account. You want to make sure that you're naming it. So when you're pulling up your accounts, when you get paid, new Tesla savings account, let me put a certain amount in here. Let me put $50 in here because this is going to remind me that I want that Tesla, but I have to save for it, right? So it could be a new car, it could be a new outfit, it could be Christmas. I have a Christmas fund that I start every February, and I put a little bit amount in there every time I get paid. So when Christmas time comes, I'm literally just pulling out that money, and whatever is in there, that's all I have for Christmas. So I will not overspend for Christmas. So naming your savings account is super helpful. And it's been a game changer for me. It works for a lot of people. Don't just put savings account, put, Christmas savings, new child savings, new computer savings, or put fund money savings. Excuse me, if you want to have that money per month to take out and spend on whatever you want, guilt-free savings, whatever makes sense for you. And also stick to your plan and adjust where needed, right? So when we think about thinking back to tracking your expenses, when you're tracking your expenses, you want to go back to see if it worked, right? So you get paid on Friday, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your car note, you have to pay your car insurance, grocery shopping, whatever bills you have. You want to make sure that you go back to that spending plan or budget and see if you really spent that amount on that item. If you didn't, make sure you adjust and put like a little comment or a note on your notebook or on your spreadsheet just to see what happened. I thought I was going to spend $100 in gas this week, and I spent $125. It only happened because I needed to take my mom to get her nails done, whatever. Put that note in there, because if you aren't adjusting your budget each time, then you're constantly going to overspend or underspend and not know where that extra money is going. So you want to make sure that you have a spending plan, have a budget, and you're going back and you're adjusting where needed. And it's okay if you need to say, well, I thought I only needed $100 for groceries. I need $200. Okay, put $200 in that block or square and see if you can adjust somewhere else, right? So it's all about adjusting, right? On my spreadsheet that I have on my notebook, I have my actual and I have what I plan to do in actual, because things change. Target could have a sale and I've spent $150. All right, well, I can't get my nails done until 2 weeks from now. I can't get my nails done and my feet done. I have to pick one. So it's all about just adjusting. And I think over time, you will know your numbers, know what your expenses look like. They may change or fluctuate because we have those variable expenses in addition to our fixed expenses, but it's good to just know where you're starting from and kind of knowing your habits and your behaviors too. And giving yourself wiggle room if you, like I said, if you make a mistake, because we're all human and things happen. And if you're like me, you're an emotional spender, and sometimes it's hard, but just get back on track, right? Automate your savings account. If you feel like you're not good with transferring money to your savings each time you get paid, or each time, or once per month, twice per month, however often, works for you, you can automate your savings account. You can say, well, my spending plan has me saving 10% per month. You can automate that to go to your savings account per month without actually doing the transaction. You have to set that up with your bank account. And then you also can use the envelope system, which is super helpful. This basically means, and I'm gonna keep this super simple. If you go to Target and you have $50, take the $50 out of the ATM in cash, put it in the envelope. Once you spend that $50 in Target, that's all you have. So you might want to get something that's like, you might want to spend like maybe 47, 48 because of taxes, because you don't want to not have the additional funds. But putting that exact amount in an envelope, going to the store or whatever you're expending it on, going out to eat. And then once that money in the envelope is gone, that's it. So that's super helpful too for some people. Some people love the envelope system, some people don't. And when you're creating your goals, you want to make sure you're focusing on one goal at a time, so you won't get overwhelmed and say, you know what, I give up. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. This is not working. I'm frustrated. I'm going to spend whatever I want, and I'm going to run it up on a credit card because it's going to make me feel good. I've done that before. So you want to make sure you're starting small, as I mentioned earlier, and building your momentum. Starting small, giving yourself grace. If you need to take a break, it's fine. And making sure that you're rewarding yourself. Man, I didn't know I could save this amount of money, right? And I did. So since I saved this amount of money, I hit my savings goal, I'm going to treat myself to whatever, right? And then go to the next goal. All right. Saving is important for a number of reasons. We had a government shutdown a couple of years ago where people, I feel like they went to work Friday and realized that they were out of a job by Monday. And, they had to figure out a way to feed their families. And that was a stressful time for so many people. The pandemic has affected so many people financially. And it's hard to kind of have a job one day and the next day you don't have a job, or your income switches up, or your spouse loses their income, or their hours are reduced. So that changes things in your family dynamic. So saving is important because it's going to help you cover unexpected expenses. It's going to give you peace of mind. So if an unexpected expense or emergency occurs, you're going to have the money there to cover it, right? This could be something like a medical bill. This could be you get a flat tire at work. This could be just a random expense that you have, like it could be anything that pops up. I've had many unexpected expenses pop up, and having a savings account, it just creates that peace of mind. Like, okay, I don't have to put this on a credit card. And if I did, I'm glad to have a credit card, because sometimes you have to do what you have to do. But just having that money there, it just gives you kind of peace of mind. And I feel like there's been so much uncertainty over the last couple of years that any additional stress outside of what we're already going through is extra that we don't need. So why not have that extra cushion there just in case we need it? Saving also helps to eliminate debt. Sometimes, when we don't save and something pops up, as I mentioned, we put it on a credit card, or we, ask someone to borrow some cash. We may hit a check cashing place with like high interest rates. We're borrowing $500 and we end up paying them back $1,200, and it just keeps the cycle of debt going. So there are so many benefits of saving. And also it helps you feel in control of your money. And I always tell people, you want to feel in control of your money. It's your money. Your money shouldn't control you. You should be in full control of your money. Saving is going to also help you reach your financial goals, and it's going to help you prepare for the future. All right, so here are some tools for success. And I feel like, you can use these tools to help you. And if it's something here that is not going to work for you, then that's fine. You can create your own tool. But having an accountability partner that you check in with once per month, once per week, is going to be helpful. If you know yourself, you know your behaviors, you know your habits, and you said, Tiera, I need someone to text me each week to say, look at your budget. What is your gap looking like? What's coming up in the next week? Have you even created a budget? What is your tracking system? Are you tracking your expenses? So having an accountability partner, it's great because they can hold you accountable. Reward yourself often. I mentioned earlier to have something in your budget that makes you really, really happy. So I mentioned that earlier, rewarding yourself. That's going to keep you motivated. That's going to keep the momentum going. And that's going to allow you to accomplish your financial goals. Start small, build your momentum, and then over time, you can increase your goals. And just making sure that they are realistic, making sure that you can attain them. If you need to take a break, take a break. And also creating a weekly plan or a monthly plan or a bi-monthly plan, whatever works for you and doesn't cause you additional stress is helpful. And making sure that you are sticking to that plan and adjusting where it needs to be adjusted. Like if you create a plan and it doesn't work, scratch it, start over. There's nothing wrong with starting over, because you want to create something that's going to be long lasting, that's going to work for you, that's going to allow you to accomplish your goals, and that you're going to feel good about at the end of the day. As I mentioned earlier, you don't want to have goals or a spending plan that's restrictive, because that's not sustainable at all. So also creating a goal board. I used to work with someone who had to see their progress, right? They wanted to save a certain amount of money. And I was like, well, put it on like a poster board. Like, you want to save this amount of money each time you save, color it in red until it's full. And then when it's full, you've accomplished that goal. Some people are visual and they need to see it. So that could be helpful as well. And then asking for help. If something's not working, reaching out to your local bank, a financial institution, financial advisor, a money coach, a friend who, might excel in an area where you need some assistance. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And I feel like, that's where the empowerment comes, when you're asking for help. I tried this is not working. How can I adjust? Can you look over my budget? Can you look over my spending plan? I don't think my goals are realistic. Let me create some new goals. Sitting with a friend and just being honest with them about your plans and seeing if they can help you and give you some advice that can allow you to be successful. All right. I think that is it. And I am open for questions.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you so much, Tiera,
No problem.
for your presentation and the things that either it was new information or if it was like just affirming of like what we needed to do, that was super helpful. So we have a couple of questions that have come in. And again, I just wanted to remind folks, if you do have questions, go ahead and submit them in the Q&A pane as a control panel, and we'll get to them as they roll in. So one question was going back to your comment that you mentioned you and your husband did, was your strategy to negotiating your insurance. Was there any, special tips or special wording or language that you felt like you needed to say, or like you needed to word it, or was just like, hey, if I don't ask, I never know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm literally that person that looks over our monthly bills and see what, we're paying for certain things. And I had gotten a couple emails from like different insurance companies that said, hey, we can assure you, get your quote now really, really quick. So I'm like, I got some time. Let me just call them. I called the insurance company that we had, and I said, hey, we're paying X amount of dollars for our car insurance. We haven't had any accidents. We've made every payment on time. Is there a way you can lower our payment? Or redo the whole insurance policy for our cars to see if we can get a lower payment. And they checked. And I said, well, this will be helpful because I'm going to look at this other company over here to see if they can give us a quote to find it cheaper. And they were like, what other company, are you going to look at? And I told them, and I was like, and if they're cheaper, we're just going to switch. So they were able to give us, I think it's like a $25 discount on our insurance. And it ended up being a little bit cheaper than the competitor. So I just asked straight up. I was like, hey, we've been paying our insurance on time. You guys have given us great customer service. We'd love to kind of stick with you all. But can you help us out on this bill? And they did. And, sometimes people will say, or companies will say, no, they can't. And then that's fine. But I think the thing is like asking, and the worst they can say is no.
Perfect. I feel like that works too with cable companies. I think you mentioned that as well. I had to kind of utilize that tactic to help my mom. So yeah, that's great. So some other questions that came in. Are there, and you mentioned a couple, so are there any resources or apps that you know of that you're like, this, is something that has helped me, or I know a lot of people use this to either track expenses or even just saving money in general? So you mentioned Mint, which I know you talked about how, it comes with its own categories. And so I have been an advocate for Mint. And for me, I just had to sit down and like actually rename categories that made sense for me. So kind of the same way I think Felicia mentioned earlier, like paper is best for her, like just being able to see it. And for me, it was like, to me, it was the same way mentally of like, I was able to create the categories.
Right.
Somebody else mentioned Scott's Cheap Flights. I am another huge proponent. I love Scott's Cheap Flights. Okay. If you have not heard of it, and Tiera, you say you haven't yet, definitely check them out. So that's more so like a travel one. And I know somebody said like, yes, love Scott's Cheap Flights, Sarah. Somebody said that don't chase the places that you want to go, but chase the deal. So that's always how I usually travel. I travel based on deal, not necessarily based on like actual.
Where you want to go.
Yeah. So are there any other ones that you've come across?
Yeah. So there's an app called You Need a Budget, and they use the acronym for You Need a Budget. So YNAB is really, really good. And they help you kind of create your budget from scratch. They have an accountability piece on them as well. I do not know how much they cost. I do know there is a membership or a subscription fee, but it has great reviews and it works for a lot of people who just need that extra kind of step, that extra accountability piece. And going back to Mint, one thing I did like about Mint, I didn't take the time to like categorize everything. I just didn't do it, but I would get like emails. Tiera, your food budget this week was $300, but you spent $600. I was like, I immediately deleted that.
I hate it, but I love it at the same time.
Right. It holds you accountable. It's great. Correct. I just was not one of those people to kind of move the categories around. And I just like, here's my notebook, pen and pencil. I'm old. Yeah,
for sure. Someone mentioned Gas Buddy. Love Gas Buddy. For sure. If you haven't heard of that one, that'd be great. Other folks are mentioning stuff in here too. Yes, love hate relationship with Mint and then Shayna, Facebook Marketplace. Yes, very much. I've sold things on Facebook Marketplace and have purchased like a lot of things in my home from there. So yes, for sure. Another one I was going to mention too, that has helped me, and you mentioned about like your subscriptions and, you know, managing your paid subscriptions, is this app, or I guess like an add-on called Truebill, that finds and manages your paid subscriptions. And so a lot of times you're like paying on a subscription, if you're like me, you're not really looking at your spending plan like you should be. You're like, wait, I thought I stopped paying on that months ago. And you realize that you're still paying on it. So that's another great one. So perfect. And you two to fix things myself. Yep, DIY. Yep, some people are very talented in the DIY space. Free Cycle is a great app. I love that we're just research sharing here. Free Cycle is a great app for furniture, other items in your local neighborhood. Great. Some areas have Buy Nothing or Free Cycle, another one. Yes, perfect. I'm gonna ask this question because it's pertaining to this particular question. Someone asked, are there any other coupon apps other than Retail Me Not, Groupon? So maybe Tiera, if you're, you know, not familiar with any other ones, hey, if you all that are here with us this afternoon, if you know anyone's, Honey is a great one. It's an extension on Google Chrome that you can add. So yeah, just go ahead and shoot some of those in the chat, you guys, if there are any like other coupon apps that you use as well. Perfect. I'm going to go to another question because I'm sure we can be on this all day of all the websites. So we had another question in particular that, like, could you be, you know, just more specific on the ways that you saved 10K in 3 years? Like, I think people want to know, like, hey, how was that approach?
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. I always forget to mention that. So after college, I would say what really helped me was after college, I moved back home. And I purchased a newer car, but it wasn't brand new. And then I ended up totaling that car, not my fault. And then I was like, well, all my friends have new cars. I'm gonna get me a new car. And then something happened when I drove to the dealership to pick up a new car. Something was saying, don't do it. Just drive one of the cars in your parents' yard. Like, it's 12 cars in their yard. Just pick one. Just don't do it. It's okay. It's okay if it's old, long as it takes you from point A to point B. And I was like, all right, put your pride aside. So from 2013, 2014, up until last year, up until 2020, I apologize, I lived at home. I moved back home. I commuted to Richmond every day for work. I drove a car that was paid off that my parents gave to me, which was a blessing. And I essentially was living off of one paycheck without even realizing it. Like, I wasn't intentionally trying to like live off one paycheck, but I had no bills, no expenses. So one paycheck I would put in my savings account, and the other paycheck would cover all my bills and expenses, which was literally just like a cell phone bill, my food, travel, like just the main stuff. No, my major bill was my cell phone bill. I think in my student loan payment, which was not a lot at the time. So I essentially was living off of one paycheck. And I had 3 jobs. I've always worked more than one job. I had 3 jobs at the time. So I essentially was living off one paycheck from my full-time job. And then the part-time jobs, I started like my investment account. I started to like give my parents money per month just because I had a lot of extra money. But living off of one paycheck from my full-time job really was the game changer for me. And I try to be real transparent about that because I know that's not reality for a lot of people. So I'm super, super thankful for that. But that's the main way I was able to save the $30,000 over 3 years, because I lived below my means, which was super hard, but it was fun because, you know, I could say, hey, friends, let's go to Florida in 2 weeks. And they're like, well, we can't just pick up and go to Florida. I'm like, well, why not? I can, come on. And I didn't get it. I did not understand it because I never had so many bills. I wasn't in a hurry to move out the house and things like that, which I kind of hated because I had to commute. They were already living in Richmond. And I was like, well, I have to go home. And it was a lot. Right. But looking back, I see the benefits of doing that. And, you know, part of that $30,000 was used to help fund my wedding and pay for it in cash in the middle of the pandemic, which looking back, I'm like, man, that's great. I did that. I didn't want to use it for that, but I'm happy that I had it there and I didn't have to kind of bring any new debt into the marriage.
Yeah, for sure. Very similar. When I moved to Richmond, I did move back home with family, and that allowed for me to save money aggressively and pay myself as if I was renting,
Yeah.
and wind up purchasing my first home. So yeah, so on the back end of that though, what you mentioned is everybody doesn't have, those opportunities. Do you have any tips, beyond what we were able to talk about this afternoon, for those who may not have those types of family resources? Is there anything in addition to what we just shared this afternoon that you're like, this is what I would, recommend?
That's a great question. I think it would depend on, I guess, people's situations. Because a lot, like you said, a lot of my friends didn't move back home. Either they lived too far or they were like, I have to get out of my parents' house because of whatever reason. So just figuring out kind of like what's in your control. What resources do you currently have? If there is a way, if you want to kind of create a savings goal or pay off some debt, and let's say you are renting, can you get a roommate? Do you want to get a roommate? I couldn't do it. And I think that's one of the reasons I stayed home. I was like, I can't do roommates. I can't do it. Some people can do it, but just think about it's so many different ways to kind of, to kind of think forward with your expenses. Maybe you're about to pay your car off and you want to upgrade it. But if you pay your car off, do you need to upgrade it? Does it still work? Right? Can you pay your car off and create a savings account and still make that car payment per month to yourself? So just being really, really creative. Getting a roommate would help with rent or mortgage. And also, making sure that just think about what's in your control. And sometimes when we think about these things, we don't necessarily want to do them. But, a year of having a roommate or a year of having no car payment can make a really big difference in your financial life when you're setting your goals. It's just 1 year and then or 6 months or whatever works for you. And looking back, you can be like, man, I'm really glad I did that. That wasn't the best situation. I didn't really like them, whatever the case may be, but it's going to make a big, big difference. And sometimes, sacrifice is hard, but you have to look at the reward that's going to come with that as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, that's the beauty of having a financial goal and, having that plan, is that it doesn't have to be permanent. It can be a temporary situation, and having your mindset on that is a temporary situation. So if you're like, hey, there may be an opportunity for me to Airbnb my basement, or there may be an opportunity for me to Airbnb my room, another room that I have for someone, or I have a friend of mine that does Amazon Flex whenever she wants to or not. So those are some like easy ways to like do that. I remember for me back in 2016, I did Instacart for a while based on like, hey, I was saving for the house. So those are some things like, again, it's like a mentality and a perspective that it doesn't have to be forever. It can be for that specific goal. In mind. So yeah.
And one more thing I wanted to add while you said that. One of my friends, she was having a baby and she wanted to stay home, and they had just bought a house. So they rented the house out, I guess, a year or two after they purchased it, moved in with, I think, her husband's family or her family for 1 year, saved the mortgage amount that they were supposed to pay for the house for 1 year. And then when they moved back into their house, she was able to be a stay-at-home mom for 1 year. Wow. And I thought that was amazing sacrifice. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool. I told my husband, he was like, no. I was like,
yeah, you have to do what works. Yeah, you have to do what works for you and your family. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So another question that we have here, and I think maybe I might have missed a question that happened in the chat. I'm gonna go back when we were doing all of our. With gasoline prices still near $4 per gallon and the cost of tools and materials for mechanic services rising due to inflation, what is an appropriate amount to budget each month for vehicle maintenance / repairs? Do you have any?
That's a great question.
Into that?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the make and model of your car. Some cars don't require as a lot of maintenance as other cars. If your car is 5 years old, 10 years old, you want to look at that as well. And what I would say how to budget for that is I would take my car to a Firestone to say, every time I take my car to like a Firestone or wherever to get it an oil change, I would say, can you give me a list or a printout of the things that are currently wrong with my car? What's going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months? Do I need to come more often for a tire rotation or oil change or whatever that maintenance package may be? but also as far as gas. So, or any type of thing that you're trying to set a budget for, pull your bank statements over the last, I would say, 4 weeks, even though I feel like gas has fluctuated, but pull your bank statements over the last 4 weeks. And if you see that on average, you spend $50 a week in gas, which is about $200 a month, budget $200 for your gas going forward. And that's a good way to kind of gauge if that price goes up or if that price goes down. If you see that the price kind of fluctuates, I would overestimate it. So maybe 225, 250. And then put that in your next your budget or spending plan for the month of August. Now, if you feel that that's too much money, you don't need it, then you have money that you can use to save or do something else with. But if that's not enough money because gas goes back up, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't, then you want to kind of track it again, and you might have to increase it to 250. So that's why I say tracking your expenses. And if you haven't tracked your expenses, start doing that now. Say, you know what, I don't have a gas budget, but I'm going to have a gas budget by September because I'm going to track it all the way through August.
Yeah, for sure. And something I remember someone telling me, and I obviously this depends on like what discounts or whatever is out there or what have you. Let's say you buy a gas card and there's a percentage off, for purchasing that gas card because you purchased it at that store. Or let's say you already shop at Target and you purchase a gas card there, and obviously you accrue points, I can't remember what they call them, but basically, money to spend there. So again, just making sure that, you make one thing work for another thing, and how that adds to your overall spending plan. Perfect. So another question that came through is, and this is a great one, I would love to, just talk about this. How do you prioritize spending as a couple / pair? For example, one values eating out or a wedding photographer more than the other, or one is more frugal than the other. Of course, compromise is key. Would love any tips. Me too. I would love any tips you have to provide here.
This is a great question. Me and my husband are currently working through this. So I am the saver and he is the spender, and it drives me insane. So what has worked for us so we can stay married forever and ever and ever is compromising, right? Having a compromise and having goals. He has his own goals, financial goals. I have my own goals. We have a few goals that we talk about together, right? So if I'm saving 10% of my income or whatever the case may be, his bills look a lot differently than mine. But I sit down with him at least once per month and I say, hey, what are our financial goals? What are we doing? What's coming up? And it's taken us a while, but we have finally come to the conclusion that it's good for us to have separate accounts. We don't have a joint account. I know some people won't be happy to have it. It just works for us because if we have a joint account, I'm going to be tracking, why did you spend $50 here? No, we have compromised goals. So if our goal right now is to save, I'm just going to say $500 per month. I am not going to focus on anything else that he spends his money on as long as we are saving $500 per month. $250 for me, $250 for him, or if his income is a little bit higher than mine, it might look like $300 for him and $200 for him, whatever we agree on. But we realize that joint bank accounts don't work for us. Our friends have been telling us to do it. No, it's not going to work for us. Just having those common goals, a couple of goals per month that we know that we can accomplish, and then go from there. And it's been a game changer because I'm the type of person, I wouldn't want anyone tracking what I'm spending my money on. I would like to just spend it on what I want to spend it on and have my plan. That's how it was before we got married. And same for him. He's like, I want to spend my money. I want to do this, my stuff over here, but if I have to, pay the rent or pay the mortgage, we want to make sure that we have that money set. We do have an account like for our bills and things like that, just for the bills. But we make sure that we have some common goals and we focus on those common goals and kind of let each other do whatever else. And if we need to adjust, we adjust as we go forward. Was there a part 2 of that question?
No, that was it. Yeah.
I hope I answered that. Okay, perfect. Hope that makes sense.
No, that is great. Again, I think that's a common misconception that, once you're married, you have to have a joint account. Like that's just an automatic thing. And you don't, you do what works for you.
Yes, you do what works for you and your spouse.
Wonderful. And then I know that we only have 5 minutes, so this question may be even bigger. So it was, do you have suggestions for investing in assets
Ooh.
specifically?
I was waiting for something that has to do with investing. So I am not a financial advisor and I do not give investing advice. I'm not licensed to. But I will share my investing kind of journey really, really quickly. So in college, I was a part of this organization called NABA, the National Association of Black Accountants. And we would have meetings, I think once per month at the School of Business at VCU. And all of my friends were like, we need to start investing. And I'm like, well, why? Like, that's for rich people and older people. Like, we are just about to graduate college. We don't need to do any of that. So fast forward, I realized that I needed to do that. After college, I tried to figure out how to invest, how to do it, where do I start? And after college, I was fortunate enough to work for a nonprofit, but the nonprofit didn't have any benefits. And I was like, well, all of my friends have jobs that offer benefits and, investment options for 401k, things like that. And I knew I didn't have that. So I went to my financial institution and I said, hey, I want to start investing. And I think I need to start with retirement because I'm at the age now where people are saying I might not have Social Security. So I want to start my retirement fund so I can have money there. So they talked to me about a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. And after doing research, reading books, because I'll take what someone says and then I try to like do all my research so it makes sense to me. So after about 2 years off and on of reading books, doing research, I decided to open up a Roth IRA with Vanguard. Vanguard was just one of the companies that I read that was in the, I think it was a Susie Orman book that I was reading at the time. So they have like Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, all of these different investment companies. And I literally called Vanguard and I said, hey, I want to open up a Roth IRA. What is a Roth IRA? Talk to me like a 5-year-old. I don't know what this is. What are the benefits? And I would literally talk to them probably once or twice per month for 2 or 3 hours, just until I understood what it meant. It took me probably 12 months to just figure it out because I would get frustrated and not do anything. But once I understood what it meant, the benefits of Roth IRA versus traditional, and I chose that one. That was my first investment vehicle. That is the first thing that I started, contributing to my retirement account. So I can have one since I did not have one with my job at the time. And now that I've gotten a little bit more knowledge about investing, I still am very like a stickler just for my retirement account. I don't do the individual stocks and things like that. That's just not my area of expertise. It's not where I'm comfortable. I'd rather just have like my retirement account. And every time I contribute, I call the Vanguard, hey, I have this amount of money to put in my retirement account. And they would say, well, you need to choose if you want you want to put that in stocks, you want to put that in mutual funds, you want to put that in ETFs. I'm like, what is that? This is what that is. I'm like, talk to me like a 5-year-old because I don't get what that is. And they talk to me about like what that means. And then also, it's also important to know like what type of investment, how much risk you're willing to take. Sorry, if you want to be like a risky person, if you want to be moderate, if you want to keep it simple and safe, they talk to you about that. And I'm like, well, I want to be kind of moderate because I feel like I'm investing a little late. I want to retire at this age. And they would say, well, these are some moderate investment things that you can try. You want to choose a stock? This is what a stock is. You want to choose a mutual fund? This is what that is. And they literally painted the picture for me. So I'm not sponsored by Vanguard. I'm not saying go with Vanguard, but Vanguard was just the one that I read in the book that I was reading at the time. And I went with them and I love them. And they have an app so I can see like my investments and things like that. But right now I do have a Roth IRA with Vanguard. And like I said, it took me about a year or two to kind of figure out investing. What does it mean? Can I do it? And it's something that I should have been doing a long time ago, but I had no idea. So investing is great. I recommend everyone to start doing it as soon as you're able to. But I also recommend everyone to start getting consistent with saving money, having an emergency fund first, because investments are super risky. And if you can lose all your money if you don't know what you're doing. So it's not something that I'm going to say, just do it and figure it out as you go. Oh, no. Start saving first, have your emergency fund set, and then get your information, ask your questions about investing until you're comfortable.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. I know that we didn't get to everyone's question, so that just means we have to do a part two. So thank you again, Tiera, for so many great tips. Thank you all so much, even in the chat, for recommending things, resource sharing. This was really, really wonderful. I popped a survey link in the chat. If you all could complete that and let us know how we can do better and improve for future programming, that would be great. And no worries if you can't snag the link today. We will be sending out a follow-up email with the link to the survey, as well as the video recording of this afternoon. Also, we look forward to seeing you all at some of our future events as well. I just popped a link in the chat of how you can access those events, or you can look at the QR code that Tiera has here. On behalf of VCU Office of Alumni Relations, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye-bye.